Welcome back to Games Revealed. I'm James and the Brink, and we are one. And today we're bringing you in the Ally X. Yes, we're finally an ally of the X that ASUS is bringing us. So ASUS announced the Ally X with a live stream, and I have to say, I think they got some of the specs right, but I feel like this should have come out a year ago because some of the specs are a year old, which is like 4 years in mobile APUs. You know, we got Steam Decks, we got everything coming out, and the Steam Deck holds its own because it's console-like. Anyway, let's see what is going to make this thing so special. The specs. And I have to say, they're getting it right. It's just APU's a little not right. So the speculation is it's going to be 24 gigs of RAM, maybe up to 32 gigs of RAM, with a bigger battery, yes, heavier, but with that heaviness, yeah, you just can't get past it. With batteries, it's just going to get bigger and going to get heavier until tech can reduce the amount. We are going to be seeing, at least according to some claims, 8 hours of battery life. Now, I'm taking a lot of this stuff from a Verge article, and they had hands-on with this, and some of the information could be incorrect and some of it is correct. So, like I said, speculation. 8 hours battery life was what I think they were saying with the original Ally. So I'm assuming it's actually going to be closer to 8 hours, which actually means it's going to be like closer to 3 to 4 hours. And that's probably generous, as if you play something super intense on the Ally right now, it's like an hour. If you max that thing out, you get an hour of battery life. Now, as far as thickness, it seems like it's going to be about 1/3 of an inch thicker, which is, it's not really going to make much of a difference. And it's going to have a 1 terabyte 2280 SSD NVMe drive. So you're going to be able to upgrade that thing up to what, 4 terabytes, maybe 6 terabytes soon. And so that's a big win, as 1 terabyte should probably be the normal in these devices nowadays. Like, we're in a whole new era where games like Baldur's Gate 3 can be like 150 gigabytes. So I'm surprised they have not fixed this yet. And I know it costs money, but it doesn't really cost that much money. You go look at the different drives, and sometimes the cost difference is it's upsold. So that's why that's more the true reason. They want it to be as low as possible. The Apple effect, right? Selling a 128 gigabyte iPad. Who's going to buy that? I'm going to start out at 256 gigs, that is. And so I don't know. But it's nice to see that these devices are going a little bit higher with their starting. Now, because it's going to have bigger battery, it's going to have the bigger drive and more RAM, we're going to have a price increase, and we'll get into that in a second. I want to get through the rest of the specs, and we'll get to the price. So you got to wait. I'm trying to soften it with the good stuff, let's say, first. Now, as far as what the Verge says, they say it feels better. So I'm glad that they got their hands on it, and they were able to fondle it, apparently, and they do say that it feels better in hand. Not quite the same as Steam Deck, but still better. The joysticks now have a nicely tacky rubber coating in the middle, like the Steam Deck OLED. The throw felt slightly tighter, so it means it's just going to be a tighter joystick, which is actually good. The joysticks are just too mushy. Now let's get to that price, $799, and that is kind of a no for a lot of people. But you know what? You're fitting in. And I've said this for a while. 24 gigabytes is the base minimum that they should be putting into. They should have been putting in a year or two ago. It's just when you share VRAM and system RAM, it's just it doesn't work very well with some games. And so having a little bit of extra room, especially since this is a Windows device, even more so it needs that extra RAM, as opposed to Steam Deck, which does have a little bit of it's not as RAM hungry unless you're running Chromium on that or Chrome applications. So yes, $799. I will have to say, it's not the worst I was expecting. I was expecting maybe $899. And so $79 is not too big a deal. It's under $1,000, which, as long as you keep it under $1,000 with these devices and offer enough, then it's worth it. But I'm going to go over a couple of things that will probably make it not worth it. But we'll see. Once again, depends. If it depends. We'll get there. Discounts are heavy with the regular Ally, so I could see this not actually being $799. It will probably be more like $699 or $599, depending on the time of the year. Like, wait until Black Friday, you'll probably see it as $100 off. Or maybe this will replace the original Ally and maybe drop the price a little bit. I could see them doing stuff like that as they prepare for the Ally 2. I'm sure they're going to do that. ASUS has got, in my opinion, the second best handheld gaming device that is more mainstream, like a mainstream company, not counting INEO and all that. With the Legion Go, with a close third, but it's definitely, I think the Ally and the ASUS has something going on here that they'll just release it annually or every other year. Same thing with the Legion Go. So when is it expected to come out? A full announcement is expected at Computex on June 2nd. Probably around June 13th is when it will actually release, because that's around the time when the ROG Ally, June 13th was when the Ally was released. Yeah, that's what we can kind of expect if they're doing an announcement on the 2nd. So if you're looking to reserve this, they maybe on June 2nd announce it, you can reserve it and buy it. Who knows? All I know is if you want to get in line and get it within the first week or two, I think last year they were behind on sales for just a few weeks. It wasn't anything like Steam Deck. I don't think this was as hot of an item as Steam Deck. So just take that into account. If you want to get one day one, be there and show up when those reservations and the pre-orders start. Now, there's a big reason not to buy this device. And that is because, and there's a bunch of YouTubers coming out about this, the RMA issues with the ASUS ROG Ally, the original one, are not great. YouTubers sent in these devices with a specific problem like joysticks and all that, and they didn't resolve it. And because they saw a little niche on the chassis or, the case itself, they fixed that. And then they charged because that wasn't covered by the warranty. And then they didn't fix the original thing that was reason why they sent it in. When you're doing repairs, it's really important to get consent. I know consent is thrown around a lot with a lot of different things. I think consent is one of the most important things people could understand in life, business, whatever it is. If I send my device in and I didn't tell you why it's broken, you should ask me and I'll tell you what you should fix on it or what is the problem. I know sometimes the specialty repair people, they don't want to hear from the customer because the customer is usually dumb. And oftentimes it can be that way. I know that the customer is going to notice, hey, my joystick is effed up. It's not working. I think that's pretty easy to say, oh yeah, we should be fixing the joystick, not the little embellishment, the little crack on the case that's not going to affect anything. It's not going to make it faster. So they were doing some shady stuff like that, stuff that was very ASUS in this case, right? ASUS. So I don't recommend anyone buying an ASUS product, especially one of these handheld gaming devices, until they resolve these RMA issues, until they can start fixing the problems that are requested. And then if there's additional issues that they see, asking for consent to touch my ROG Ally. Like if I send it in and you find something extra, tell me about it. I want to consent to paying $200 frickin' more on a repair, because at that point I might just buy a new one or wait until the Ally X comes out. So it's just a little bit of a warning there. I wouldn't recommend buying any of the ASUS handhelds until they resolve this, until we start seeing more and more reports of people getting good RMA stories in and less bad. Honestly, it could be a hiccup, could be a bad, essentially partner. So a lot of times these companies will partner with other companies to fix their devices and all that. So it could just be a bad partner miscommunication. I think people like to blow things out of proportion a lot of the times. And sometimes because these companies are so big, ASUS is massive, they'll take into account the worst possible situation when it's most likely kind of in between, where yes, they should care more. They have other things to sell, other things to do. It doesn't make it right. But if we make enough fuss, maybe they'll resolve it. But I definitely wouldn't rely. When I buy these devices, usually what tells me that they believe in the product is good warranties and RMA processes. If they don't believe in the product, they will try really hard not to fulfill or have really bad warranties. And so it's kind of a tell on them, depending on how they handle this. So that's just a little bit of if you really want it and you really need a Windows device that's going to be just that much better than a lot of the other ones, this is probably going to be it. That being said, some of the INEOs have better APUs and all that. And another downside of this device is that they're not updating the APU, even though there is a new generation. I just don't know if it's worth. I get why they're not doing it, honestly. I don't know if it's actually worth it. I've already given you my advice on what you should do with this, and I'm probably not going to get this day one. I'm getting to the point where it's too expensive to review these things. If they want to send me one to review, I'm more than happy. If someone else just whatever it is, I'm happy to try it out for a few weeks and send it back. and maybe I'll work with something like that. Maybe I'll get it and try it and return it. I don't need more devices. I have already a bunch that's hanging around here, but I'm going to pass on this because it doesn't have a newer APU. As far as the battery life, I will have to admit the new OLED Steam Deck is definitely something I never thought I was going to love. It was that battery life, but I have the Steam Deck. And with the ROG Ally, I just haven't felt the need to upgrade it from the battery aspect. I usually have a plugged in, which I know that's why I have a portable device, but it's because I'm usually playing it in bed or somewhere that's even at the airport or airline. Like airplanes, a lot of them have outlets now. So I haven't had to even use my battery bank with my Steam Deck in a while. So my recommendation is stay away unless you're absolutely intrigued by this. Like the ROG Ally, the original one's fine. It's been fine for me. I haven't seen any major issues from it. Get this device if you want the cutting edge, best non-INEO device that is just simple, or be like me and just wait and just see how it goes and maybe pick one up later when it's on sale. So that's my recommendation. Thank you guys for watching. Check out my other videos. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out. Later. Oh, yeah. Check the other goodies down there. That helps support the channel, helps me produce more of these things. So thank you guys. Peace out.